Good morning. I am Milton Wabyana, founder of Uganda Heritage Roots in Kampala, Uganda, and currently a doctoral candidate of music education at Texas Tech University in the United States. Thank you for your interest in my study about harnessing folk musical arts for rehabilitation of traumatized children and youth, commonly referred to as street children in Kampala. After this presentation, I'll certainly welcome your questions and comments in real time or by email beyond this conference. This study is based on an arts rehabilitation program which I initiated during my undergraduate days at Makerere University in Uganda. The project was formally established in 2003 and still continues to this day. The purpose of this study is to explore the Uganda Heritage Roots rehabilitation model as an example of experiential learning through application of Ugandan folk music traditions while emphasizing arts professionalism. Obviously, this program was generally conceived as a traditional Ugandan arts experience, both in content and learning processes. This study, therefore, aimed at exploring connections between indigenous arts aspects and conventional music education and music therapy perspectives with the hope of deriving a standard rehabilitation model that could be applicable to various indigenous contexts in African and other developing societies. The genesis of Uganda Heritage Roots, and consequently that of this study, are largely derived from my personal life experience growing up as a needy child, just like many in most developing countries. This is me in this picture during a performance with the Uganda Heritage Roots Ensemble a couple of years ago. Attending school was the most challenging part of my life. And indeed, I temporarily dropped out of school just 1 year before I could qualify to join university. At that point, I opted to join a folk music and dance ensemble in my hometown, where I danced for a wage as an entertainer at a local tourist center. That's how I was saved by the tune. It was through music that my dream for advanced education became a reality when I joined Makerere University through an out-of-school entry program for a diploma in music, dance, and drama. After I excelled at this level, I was selected for a cultural exchange program to Norway, where I interfaced with programs in music as therapy. While in Norway, reflections on how music was being used for therapy and how arts performance had restored my own education dream triggered the idea to start a special music program that would facilitate emotional healing, but also cultivate education opportunities for many vulnerable children in Uganda. This is how Uganda Heritage Roots was started. To help us visualize the situation of homeless youth in Uganda, I use a story of one of the participants who shared his experience for the purposes of this study. This is a young man called Alexander Katende. This is what he says. When I was 10, my father divorced my mother and married another wife. My stepmother mistreated me because I was my father's only son, so she feared I would inherit all his property in case he died. One day, instead of going to school, I decided to run away to a place I did not know, only to find myself on the streets of Kampala. I found many other kids who had also left their homes, and I started a new life with them. I lived on the streets for almost 2 years. From time to time, some white people would come to the streets to share with us things like food, clothes, and told us about Jesus. Among them was a Scottish lady who asked me about my dreams. I told her I loved school and music. She took me to Uganda Heritage Roots, where I found other former street children and orphans enjoying music and dancing, yet going to school. I joined UHR in 2005. The children I found there became my brothers and sisters, and we all liked one another because we had faced similar challenges in life. I am now a music and dance performer and trainer and able to support my own family and my parents. This is communication from him on January 15th and 17th. This story is only one example of the homeless youth problem in Uganda. According to research studies and government reports reviewed for the purpose of the current study, many of them agree that homeless youth is a global phenomenon, but also indicate an apparent lack of clear intervention mechanisms for dealing with this problem by both governments and humanitarian organizations. For Uganda, the situation is not different either. The only national rehabilitation facility also doubles as a juvenile prison for such cases. And precisely, this is the situation that UHR attempted to respond to through the Arts Rehabilitation Program. The primary objectives of Uganda Heritage Roots were to address the social, moral, physical, and intellectual needs of children under rehabilitation. Although later, other categories of people were attracted to the project and joined the program. The objective for the current study is to initiate a systematic documentation of the Uganda Heritage Roots model through which, to initiate a systematic documentation of the Uganda Heritage Roots model of street children rehabilitation and its integration of traditional arts in professional education practices. The Uganda Heritage Roots method. We employed a highly participatory and interactive approach right from the start of our program, where all participants were actively involved and recognized for their contribution to the process. We emphasized a social cultural approach where learning was primarily achieved through interactions between individuals, then followed by personal reflections and internalization. A group forming dynamics was a critical method in our process, as it enabled us to deal with various social differences such as ethnicity, age, and gender, which existed among trainees. The picture you see is of our training session, and this is me in a blue t-shirt guiding the training session. You notice that I am in the center of the training arena and not on the side, not in front, and that was more or less the approach that we took whenever we trained. This picture here is of boys having their time on their own without any instruction or any particular guidance. So we used to do this, allow them to have the instruments and play anything that would come into their mind as a way of trying to break the barriers that might have existed amongst them before we could engage them in more structured training sessions. One of the techniques that developed out of our training method was the singing the dance technique. This is what we called it. And the sweet potato was one of the term that was derived from one of the processes that one of the learners suggested from what they were able to hear. Singing the dance technique is an age-old traditional practice of Ugandan folk music and dance arts, where performers sing tunes, lyrics, or neutral syllables that are descriptive of the dance motif. In a similar style, we usually ask the trainees to sing back sounds or imaginations of the dance movements they are being taught. This is how this particular phrase, sweet potato, came about from a trainee in one of the training sessions. This technique helped to teach our learners cognitive comprehension of dance patterns beyond the more physically and rigorous actions. So when she suggested the term sweet potato, so we put descriptions to each and every step, and then you would be able to read the description and be able to dance this movement. This is a movement taken from one of the traditional Ugandan folk dances. Performance. The modeling approach has been central to our program and a massive inspiration and a confidence booster for our trainees. Trainers and instructors were always involved in performances together with the learners. So this is me in a reddish costume, performing together with the learners, and that is an approach that boosted a lot of confidence among the trainees. The same situation is represented here among the girls when they were dancing. The person in the t-shirt is the instructor for the girls and was always involved with them whenever they performed. This is a video demo of our dance performances, which was recorded some time back in 2012. Thank you. Community outreach. In 2017, Uganda Heritage Roots started an outreach program to support rural schools in poor communities of Bulisa district. On top of providing education bursaries and scholastic supplies to selected needy children, members and staff of Uganda Heritage Roots carry out periodic community engagement series, including music and dance workshops and performances. With the support from our partners, the Norwegian Friends of Uganda, we have also contributed musical instruments and costumes to the schools and community arts groups to further champion music as an inspiration for such underprivileged communities. Another aspect of this study are the contributions from our partners, and one of them is Ms. Sophie Rodin, who is the board chair for the Forum for Culture and International Cooperation, a Norwegian organization. And they have supported UHR for over 9 years, and this is what she had to say about the project. In UHR, we found a genuine interest in traditional dance and music and a desire to interact and help vulnerable children in the local community. The project had a holistic approach that was consistent with our own ideas to rehabilitate children through education and training in traditional dance, music, and theater in order to make them self-sufficient. Another partner is Miss Susan Gordon. Miss Susan Gordon was a former expatriate music teacher in Uganda, working at an international school. And while in Uganda, she interacted with Uganda Heritage Roots through music and dance. And this is what she has to say about the project. The UHR program was highly successful in engaging extreme at-risk street children. I witnessed young professional level musicians and dancers who had once been victims of war, parents dying of HIV/AIDS, and extreme poverty. Milton's loving and disciplined UHR program literally transformed these children into confident and into confident, educated, and caring individuals. The children I once knew in those early days are now very respectable role model citizens of Uganda and the world at large. And indeed, when Miss Susan Gordon returned to the United States, she mobilized her community and they organized a performance tour for 9 children of Uganda heritage roots, including the director, for a one-month performance tour, which took place in upstate New York. A conclusion. We purpose to engage our participants not as merely recipients of our service, but as valuable contributors to the process and the outputs of the program. We operated an open-ended plan which allowed trainees to develop long-term targets, including opportunities for vocational skills development alongside training in the arts, regardless of one's dexterity as a performer. Uganda Heritage Roots continues to explore effective pedagogies that meet the needs of those and other vulnerable categories of young people. In so doing, Uganda Heritage Roots has inspired development of several similar street children's rehabilitation initiatives, including some by graduates of our program, and continues to engage with homeless youth through a combination of indigenous and other musical art forms. Ultimately, we further recommend the acknowledgement and adoption of indigenous musical arts practices as regular and meaningful knowledge transfer approaches that should be supported into mainstream public education system. We also recommend that evaluation studies be commissioned to document the actual impact of the UHR and similar models on rehabilitating street children and promoting experiential learning in developing societies. Within here, we have 2 audio recordings that were made by the ensemble sometime back, about 2007, and we can just take a listen. This is the second one. So, ladies and gentlemen, I must add that through the integration of indigenous and professional arts instructional methods, UHR has managed to produce some of Uganda's finest folk artists and expert musicians. It's not surprising, therefore, that our products are some of the most sought after artists by the top bands and schools in Kampala, including Makerere University. I thank you very much for listening to me, and I welcome your questions and comments, whichever way will be most convenient. Thank you.